Hi everybody, this is Cindy again from Ideas Times 2, and today I have part 2 of the tutorial that I started on Sunday. So if you remember, we made a file folder pocket with a collage and a big pocket on the front to store a one signature file folder junk journal in. And today I thought I would show how I make the cover for the journal and collage it, maybe do some little finishing touches, and kind of show you the finished product. So what you're going to need for the junk journal, for the cover, is a standard manila file folder. And you can see this one is pretty grungy. I coffee stained it. And I need to cut this down because I would like to have a kind of a standard 9x6 file folder. And so this needs to be cut to, the cutting is a little different because of the score marks, because I want to use the score marks that are here naturally as my spine. So what I'm going to do is cut this down to 9 inches from the top, and I'll just put a little score line there. And give that a cut. And so that's the easy part. Now what I'm going to do is cut the front and the back separately so that I can accommodate the score lines. And so I'm going to do 6 inches from from the fold for the back, and give that a slice. And then I'm going to fold on the score lines. And now measure again, and just put a little pencil tick on there. Hey, Lizzie. And give that a slice. And I can put the paper cutter away. I don't think I need that again. And just like I did with the envelope, I like to have a little bit of visual interest, I guess. And so what I'm going to do is trace along here and along here. Give that a little flip so that I get that edge, and then cut that out. And through the magic of video, voila, I have one done already. And so on the front I have just the nice rounded edges, and then the back I have the tab. You can see this one is 6 inches from here to here, and the back is 6 inches from here to here, and then 9 inches. This one has about a 1/2 inch spine. So I want to reinforce the spine. So I just am going to use a piece of red since my journal is cardinals is my theme. And so I just cut out a piece of standard cardstock that is 9 inches by 2 inches. It doesn't need to be real big because the journal is not very big. And I'm going to score it at 3/4 of an inch and at 1 1/4. And that should give me exactly what I need to reinforce the spine. And go ahead and give these a fold. And then this is going to go just right here, following this score lines on the folder. Should flip this the right direction so I keep the cover on my left. And I'm getting down to the last of my glue, but I'm a little scared to go to Hobby Lobby. Well, I can't go to Hobby Lobby. They don't sell my glue anymore. But I'm scared to go to the mall. It's getting way too close to Christmas to go to Michael's. One of my students works at Michael's. I should see if I can get her to grab me some glue next time she works. So, and I'm just going to align my score marks on each end. Keep them centered in the middle and make sure that is glued down well. You know, if you want to use something a little more decorative, you know, decorative paper, or a scrap piece of file folder. It's just nice to have something a little stronger there in the middle. And so now I've got this here. I'm not real happy with that, but what I could do is just make a little pocket to put on there. Let me reach for my big circle punch. I don't know how I lived without that for so long, but I love my circle punch. And since the rest of the journal is vintage, I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. I know I've got tons of ephemera or little things that can go in the pocket, and because this is so white, I'm going to go ahead and ink the whole thing and keep my vintage theme going. And I'm going to go ahead and put that, center that here, just to cover that up, just so it's not, you know, nobody needs to know, you know, the model, make and model of the file folder. I'm just going to glue this on so that I don't have any stitching on the outside. Actually, I said this was the front, this was the back. It's the other way around. This is the front. So that's that's really it for the construction of the cover. But I want to collage this up with some similar things as I used on the pocket. And so I have this stuff already prepared just because I wanted to, I didn't want to be cutting stuff out on the video. See, I don't think I need that. Put this up here. A little bit of music. I don't remember. I kind of had this planned out earlier, but I have forgotten exactly the way I had it, but something like that, I think. And then I'm going to sew it down just like I did on the cover, so that we have some continuity between the pocket and the journal. And so these doilies are vintage, but they weren't quite grungy enough, so I coffee stained them. I'm almost completely out of doilies, except these giant ones that I picked up in Indiana at an Amish store. But I haven't the chance to restock my stash. Yeah, the collaging goes so much faster when you have it planned ahead of time. Usually I am I like to collage. I do a lot of collaging in my journals, but I often will kind of sit at my table here and just stare at the table, basically trying to figure out what I want to collage. And Tracy Fox had a challenge last February, I think, that involved time limits on collaging, and that really helped me a lot. And now I keep a little tray on my crafting table with my scraps that I want to use for collaging, and basically can just reach in there and grab. If you are new to junk journaling and maybe are unsure about collaging, that's a really good way to go. Use up your scraps and it'll save a lot of time. So I even had everything inked up today. And I kind of crafting in the dark. It's already dark outside, and I normally don't like to film in the evenings, but it is the last week of school before winter break, and so we're in the middle of finals right now, and my report cards are due as soon as we get back from break, so I'm trying not to have to take papers home with me to grade. I want just to be able to enjoy my time off. And so I stayed late trying to get essays graded. Being an English teacher, it never ends. There are always papers to grade, always essays. I'm not liking, I'm missing something. But while I think about that, I'm going to go ahead and I just need something right here. I'm not sure what. I need to think on it for a second. a little bit of glue on there. But I think it looks okay. It's just missing something right here. And I'm going to go ahead and sew this up as soon as the glue is dry, and then go ahead and put the journal inside, and we'll have a finished project here in just a few minutes. So I will be right back as soon as I'm done sewing on my cover. So be right back. All right, so I am back, and I just did some wonky stitching around all of my collage elements except the doilies. I left those. Just like I did on the envelope, I left the strings. I'm going to trim a little bit off of this black tulle that I have on there, and I just gathered that up a little bit. The inside, you can see, is a bit of a mess, but I'm going to trim these down. Nobody wants to be dealing with all of these strings on the inside, but I love the way it looks when all the stitching is done. If you don't like that, and you don't want to sew at all on your cover, that's fine. You can just glue everything down. If you like the stitching on the inside, then more power to you. I love it. I think it looks amazing. Or you, if you like the stitching, stitch it before you glue it down to the cover. Any way you want to do it is the way to go, right? So that's what I just decided to do for the cover. So kind of to recap, it's 9 inches by 6 inches wide. This one has a 1/2 inch spine that I reinforced with cardstock. I put a pocket on the back just to cover up the stamp from the company. You could cover this up if you would like. Put a big pocket on there. You could cover the whole inside if you want to. I kind of like the grungy, so that's what I'm going to leave it as. And so that leaves us with just the binding, right? So I already have my signature prepared and ready to go, and it's pretty big, and I'll show you. I'll do a little flip through so you can see what all I put in there. But I need to put my holes in, and I already measured 1 inch from either end, and at 4.5 inches in the middle, and I'm using an awl. If you are new to junk journaling, you do need some kind of pokey tool, and I like my awl. And I think that is ready to go. And so I'm going to do a basic pamphlet stitch, and just a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. I recently had my juniors make a zine for a project, and I have a zine tutorial, but I don't have anything on there on how to do the pamphlet stitch. And I tried to explain on the board, on the whiteboard with marker, and they were so carefully watching what I was doing on the board, and taking notes because they were going to do it and get it right. And by the time I had the down and up and over and down and up, the board was kind of a mess and they just gave up. But they did a fantastic job on the project. And I don't know why I cannot get this threaded. Because I'm on camera, right? If I was doing this on my own, I'd already be done with the binding. I've recently developed an astigmatism, so the threading of the needles is, I'm getting old. So if you've never done a pamphlet stitch before, it's pretty easy. You just need, a nice blunt tip needle with a big eye, maybe bigger than this one, since obviously I couldn't see what I was doing, and a nice twine. This is a bookbinding twine. It's not waxed. And I always do kind of a, three lengths of the book and a little extra just in case I screw up. And then 3 holes. Like I said, these are 1 inch from the end and right smack in the middle. And I don't always start in the middle. Sometimes I like to have my string tied on the outside. But for this one, I'm going to have my string on the inside, and we're going to start in the middle and go down through that hole that we already punched. And I try to make sure I hold the string with the thumb on my left hand. And I know this is kind of awkward on camera. And then up to the top hole and through the cover, and then through the holes I already punched in the book, maybe. And I generally don't pull too tight at the beginning, and so we went down through the middle, up through the top. Now we're going to go over to the bottom. We're going to do a long stitch to the bottom and through the bottom hole. So it should look like that. I'll flip it over and then through the same hole in the middle. And then carefully through this hole again. You want to make sure that, and the reason I like a blunt needle, one reason I like a blunt needle is that you don't want the needle to go through the thread that was already in there and get those threads tangled. So then you want to make sure that one end of your string is on one side of that long stitch and the other is on the other side of the long stitch. And this is usually where I tighten. I make sure that it's tight on the outside. See, this I think is a little loose. So now I'm going to tighten my strings. Flip that around again. Still, this one's a little loose. Oh, that feels a lot better. And then I'm going to tie it in a double knot. You don't want it to be too tight because it can, tear your paper or make it so your book doesn't close well. But that's the basic pamphlet stitch. Down through the middle, up through the top, over to the bottom, through, and then back up through the middle and tie it a double knot. And I always clip my pages together. I've seen other people on tutorials who don't, but I like to because when you're using small pages or half pages, it's easy for them to slide around. So I always clip everything down. So that's a basic pamphlet stitch. If you want to put something over, on the spine on the outside for decorative, you could do lace or fabric or if you would like, but I'm not going to because I like the red thread and I think the cover is enough decoration. I'm not a flowery, lots of lacy kind of girl. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I kind of think I need something dangly on the cover. And I've got some fabric pins. I'll grab one of those. I've got a lot of fabric pins, or bulb pins, or garment pins. They have whatever you call them. They have lots of different names. I've heard people call them lots of different things. And maybe a button, vintage button. I've got tons of buttons. Went to a bunch of craft stores and antique malls over the summer and really stocked up on buttons. I love buttons anyway. But this is kind of my go-to bag right now. It's $3 for this big tube of buttons. I think that was a pretty good deal. So, maybe a Christmas, I don't know. We'll see with just the button. And I'm leaving the thread on here, maybe, simply because I like that touch of. Nope, it all came out. All fell out. Darn it. I might add a charm to that, but we'll see. So this is what we did. Here is the envelope that we made the other day. And if you remember from that video, I had used my crocodile and did eyelets, but the one on the top got too close to the edge, and so when I was putting the ribbon in, it tore. So then I didn't want to have to redo all the work. Didn't want to have to start over. So what I did was I just sewed the ribbon on, and on the front and the back, so that it's on the inside as well to cover up the holes that the eyelets made. So that's how I finished this. And then the journal that matches, that goes inside. And we can do just a quick flip through. And I'll still have to do some finishing touches, I think, but start off with a Christmas card with the cardinal on there. I'm not sure if the card even says anything, if it's just a winter card. And in our mailroom at school, people leave, they clean their classrooms or empty files, and they leave stuff in there for people to take because they don't want to throw stuff out. And I've grabbed t-shirts to make a t-shirt quilt for my school, and somebody just emptied a whole bunch of Christmas cards and stickers and whatnot, and so there were a couple of cardinal cards in there, so I grabbed those. I used all coffee stained paper. Here's an envelope pocket. Right now it's empty. And a library card pocket with a tag and a card with a collage on there. And a nice side pocket here with another cardinal tag and journaling card. I used Artie Mae's Cardinal Rose kit for this, and along with some vintage books and charms and all sorts of things in here. Here's a pocket with an index card, a book page, a paper bag pocket with a card in it, There's another Cardinal Christmas card I snagged from the mailroom. Some vintage stationery and some vintage music. This was from a caroling book from the 1950s that I found after Christmas last year at an antique mall in Ohio. Got a lot of cardinals in here. I love cardinals. It's the state bird where I live. But just a little bit of everything. It's not overly embellished. I haven't quite finished it up yet. I still need to put some things in these big pockets. And some more little ephemera cards. And the end, I need to put something in there too, but I actually have a couple of things. Pretty handy. A book page that I think I would like to stick in there. Pop that in there, and a little bit of paper. It's coffee stained, so a little grungy on there. Put that in there, and it will fit right inside the pocket. Perfect fit. And I'm not putting a closure on the book because it has its own pocket. It doesn't need it. So tie that up. And there we go. Pretty simple project. And you know, I did a little bit of pre-planning and using paper scraps and things, but it didn't take all that long to do the pocket or the cover of the journal. And the journal isn't overly embellished, so it didn't even take that long to do that one signature. So I hope this is a project you can, you feel like trying, just the one little journal with the pocket. And obviously this one is kind of a wintry Christmas journal, but I did a poppy one during the summer. I've done florals. It's a project I really like to do. It kind of feeds my creativity. So I hope you give it a try, and let me know what you think. You know, give me a comment and a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Check out our Etsy shop if you're in the market for any last minute gifts. And thank you so much for watching. Have a very great week and a blessed holiday season. Bye-bye.